Welcome back to the channel. So we've went over the plans for the engine, kind of got an idea of what we're getting into, and we've gathered some material. So we're going to start actually cutting some of this material now. So the first thing that I want to do is mark it out, lay it out for the overall dimensions, and then we're going to bandsaw it out, and then we'll put it on the milling machine and we'll straighten up the edges and get it to final dimension, flatten out the edges and get it to final dimension after that. So there's different ways to do this. They do make a product which we will likely use at some point called Dicom that you can put on the aluminum. It's more permanent, so if you're going to be machining and there's going to be oil and stuff on it, it won't wipe off. But just for doing the bandsaw work, I find that one of these large Sharpies works pretty good. So we'll Sharpie it and then we'll use a scribe to scribe the line that we can bandsaw to. So this first plate here is going to be 8 1/8 inches long. So I've got the square here set to 8 1/8. And then we're going to make a Sharpie mark here, kind of in the rough area of where our line's going to be. And then we'll use the square to scribe us a line. And this is going 4.938 up, so we'll scribe a line up about 5 inches long. So we'll bandsaw just right outside of this line, and then once we machine it down to final size, it'll come down through this line, but we'll stay just outside of this line when we bandsaw it. One thing I forgot to mention before you start, it's a good idea to take a square and check and just make sure that the corner that you're starting from here, that it's good and square. And this one is, you don't want to find out later that there's a taper here that you're marking from, the edge that you're marking from. So we'll get the rest of these lines laid out and then get everything cut out on the bandsaw. And then we'll square up the edges on the milling machine. So we're set up in the mill now. We're gonna machine everything where we bandsawed it. So we'll machine it all flat. And I cut everything so that at least on the long side and the short side, there's at least one factory edge that I know is flat. So we'll start with that factory edge down in the vise, and when you get it in there, tap it a little bit with a hammer to make sure that it's down good and tight. So we'll clean up this first. We'll just clean it up to where the bandsaw marks are gone, and then we'll take it out of the vise and we'll set a zero on our depth. And then we'll take it out and measure it and see how much more we need to take off, and then machine it down to size. And then this particular one's already the right width, but the other plates will then flip them, put the flat edge down, and then machine the other direction. So to machine this, I've got an end mill in here with carbide inserts. This is a new end mill. I haven't used it before. Typically I use just regular end mills, either a 2-flute or 4-flute. So this will be a new experiment to try this end mill to see how it cuts. And for this, it doesn't really matter what we use. 2-flute end mill works good for fast stock removal. 4-flute will give you, 4 or 6-flute will give you a little bit smoother finish. So for this, if you do the math on it, it's about 4 times cutting speed. Cutting speed for aluminum being 250, and it's a 5/8 cutter. It's about 1600 RPM. We're going to run this one a little bit slower. We're going to run it at 1250, and we'll see how it cuts. And if you need any kind of cutting fluid, then WD-40 works good for the aluminum. For this narrow piece, we shouldn't need any. So we'll start cutting it down, cutting everything down to size. Okay, so I got everything machined to size now on the outside. The shorter pieces I could stick in the vise and run the end mill on there. But on these longer pieces, to clean up this end here, you really don't want to stick them in the vise and have that much sticking out. It'll vibrate too much. So I was able to mount these flat and side mill, do side milling on them. So I did change out to a regular end mill for that. So we've got everything to size except for the thickness. So as I mentioned earlier on, these plates here were 3/8. So we need to machine them down to 5/16. So if you are going to do this and yours is not already to 5/16, you can set them up in the end mill and use a fly cutter or an end mill. But I have a shaper. It's an Atlas 7B shaper. So I've already machined this one down, and I'll show you some footage from that. And then I'll also machined this down because it wasn't quite the 3/4. So it's been machined down to the correct thickness now. So the next step I need to do is machine this down from 3/8 to 5/16 to match. And then we've got the three little pieces here that'll eventually become the valve body. So we'll just put those to the side for now. We won't need those for a while. So we'll get this plate here next time. We'll get this machined down to 5/16, and then we need to machine out a notch on this piece here. So it actually slides over and sits on the end of this plate. So we'll lay that out and machine that up next time. And then there's some more work to do on these plates. There's some angles that'll get cut. So there'll be an angle cut here, and then this one gets cut down and at an angle like this. So we'll lay all that out and get that cut next time. Thanks for watching.